Welcome, drifting dreamer. I'm here to guide you gently towards sleep tonight. Before we begin, remember to like the video and subscribe for more bedtime stories. Tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. And if there's a story you'd like to hear next, I'd love to know. I used to believe I wasn't afraid of being alone. I even wore that belief like a badge of honor, as if solitude made me stronger than everyone else. From a young age, I learned how to exist in silence, how to sit in quiet rooms with nothing but my thoughts, and not feel the urge to fill the space. Later, when I moved out of my parents' house and into a rental with my older sister, I secretly enjoyed the nights she worked late or went out. The stillness felt deserved. That confidence is exactly why I missed the danger when it first appeared. I see that clearly now. The warning signs were there from the start. I just chose not to notice them. We lived in a small neighborhood on the edge of town. One of those developments where every house looks a little different, but still unmistakably comes from the same blueprint. Beige siding, tight driveways, tiny front lawns. It wasn't dangerous, but it wasn't friendly either. Neighbors waved as they passed, but nobody really knew anyone. You could live there for years without learning a single name. My sister and I split the house evenly. She was 4 years older, outspoken where I was reserved, bold where I second-guessed everything. We shared groceries, divided bills, bickered over whose turn it was to take out the trash. Ordinary life. Then, last October, she announced she was flying to Florida to meet friends. Sun, beaches, bars, the full escape. She asked me to come, but I couldn't get time off work. She rolled her suitcase down the hall, laughing. Suit yourself. Enjoy your boring staycation. I will, I said. Don't forget sunscreen. Wearing sweatpants. Hair pulled back. Savoring the freedom of being completely alone. That's when the knock came. It was around 2 p.m. I remember, because I just glanced at the microwave clock. I assumed it was a delivery. My sister ordered things constantly. I didn't check the peephole. When I opened the door, a man stood on my porch. Early 40s, taller than me, empty-handed. No package, no uniform. No reason to be there. He wore a dark jacket despite the mild weather. Faded jeans, worn sneakers. The kind of man you'd forget instantly, except for his eyes. They fixed on mine and didn't move. "Hi," I said automatically. "Can I help you?" The silence lingered too long. Then he smiled. "Oh," he said slowly, as if choosing each word. "I just wanted to see who lived here. Sorry to bother you." That was it. No explanation, no follow-up. He nodded once and stepped off the porch. I watched him walk down the sidewalk until he disappeared around the corner. I shut the door and leaned against it, unsettled. Nothing technically happened. No threat, no request. I told myself he was just a strange neighbor, or someone who had the wrong address. Still, that night, I checked the locks 3 times before bed. The next morning, I went to work like normal, telling myself I was overreacting. People knock on doors for pointless reasons all the time. By the time I got home, around 6 p.m., I'd almost forgotten him. Then came another knock. My stomach dropped instantly. This time, I checked the peephole. It was him. Same man, same clothes. I opened the door only a crack, keeping the chain on. "Yes?" I asked. "Hey," he said brightly, like we knew each other. "Everything okay?" The question felt wrong. Yeah. Why?" He laughed softly. "Of course it is. Just checking in on you." The way he said it, like he had a right to, made my skin crawl. I asked if he was a neighbor. "No," he answered too fast. "Just walking around." Walking around. Twice. To my door. "I'm fine," I said, closing the door before he could continue. That night, I texted my sister. She dismissed it immediately. You're paranoid. Lock the door and relax. I tried. The following day passed without incident. No knocks. No strange figures. I started to believe I'd imagined everything. Then came the final night. I had the day off. I stayed inside, watched videos, ordered food, checked the windows more than I wanted to admit. Everything felt normal until around 8 p.m. Something scraped along the side of the house. Not loud, just intentional, like something dragging against the siding. My chest tightened. I pulled back the blinds. The bush beneath the window shook violently. Footsteps ran away. I called my sister, shaking so badly I nearly dropped my phone, babbling through my fear. That's when the pounding started. Hard, angry. "Hey," a man called. "I need help." It was him. "I'm hurt," he said, slamming his fist against the door. "I just need to come inside." I backed away, tears burning my eyes. "I'm sorry," he continued, his voice suddenly gentle. "I didn't mean to scare you." The knocking grew louder, desperate. My sister screamed through the phone. "Call 911, now." I did. He stayed there for 5 minutes. 5 endless minutes of knocking, pleading, changing tactics. Then, suddenly, silence. I never saw him again. I don't know what he wanted. I don't know how long he'd been watching. But I learned something that night. Being alone doesn't mean you're safe. I never meant to stay out that late. New Year's Eve had stopped meaning much to me years ago. Too many people, too much noise. That forced excitement that feels hollow the second the countdown ends. But Riley wouldn't let it go. For weeks, he'd been telling me I was becoming a shut-in, that I needed to see people again, remind myself the world still existed outside my house. "Just show up," he kept saying. "Have one drink, say hi, leave whenever you want." So I did. I lived alone in a small split-level house on the edge of Westfield Terrace. One of those quiet neighborhoods where every driveway looked the same and porch lights stayed on all night. I'd been there almost 3 years. No roommates, no pets, just me, a couch, and a job in logistics that paid decently and drained everything else out of me. Long hours, always on call. Most nights ended the same way. Lock the door, heat something up, fall asleep with the TV on. New Year's was supposed to be different. I got to Riley's place a little after 10. Music was already pounding through the walls. The house was packed with people I barely recognized, faces blurring together under dim lights and red cups. I drank more than I should have. Not enough to black out, but enough that my head felt tight, warm, heavy. Mostly whiskey. Someone kept refilling my cup. Sometime after midnight, the headache hit hard, sharp and sudden, like pressure building behind my eyes. I checked my phone. 1:27 a.m. "I'm done," I muttered. Riley offered his couch. I shook my head. I just wanted to be home. I ordered an Uber and left my car in his driveway without a second thought. That mistake nearly ruined my life. The Uber dropped me off just before 2. The cold air snapped me awake as soon as I stepped out. My street was completely silent. No fireworks, no cars, just distant highway noise and the sound of my boots on the driveway. I fumbled with my keys, dropped them once, cursed quietly, then finally got the door open. I stepped inside, locked it, or thought I did, and dumped everything on the floor by the door. Jacket, wallet, phone, keys. I swallowed an ibuprofen dry in the kitchen and collapsed onto the couch without turning on a light. I lay there in the dark, eyes closed, waiting for the headache to fade. Time blurred. The doorbell dragged me back to consciousness. At first, I thought I was dreaming. That half-awake state where sounds bleed into your thoughts. Then it rang again. And again, loud, insistent. I groaned and rolled onto my side, pressing my face into the cushion. It was the middle of the night. No one rings a doorbell at 2 a.m. for a good reason. But the alcohol dulled the alarm in my head. I just wanted it to stop. After several rings, it did. Silence returned, and eventually exhaustion pulled me under. When I woke again, something felt wrong. The house was darker than before. Too dark. No glow from outside. No familiar shapes. My mouth was dry, my limbs heavy. I sat up slowly, head still pounding. I need water, I thought. That's when I saw it. A thin stripe of pale light cutting across the hallway wall at an angle that made no sense. Moonlight. My stomach clenched. The front door was open, just a few inches, enough for the night to spill inside. Before I could move, I heard footsteps upstairs. Clear, casual. Every trace of drunken fog vanished instantly. My heart slammed so hard it hurt. Another step, then another. There were two of them. I backed away silently and dropped behind the couch, crouching low. From where I hid, I could see the stairs. Anyone standing in the living room could have seen me if they looked down. I hugged my knees and waited. The footsteps reached the top of the stairs and stopped. The front door closed. The light disappeared. "All right," a man said casually. "Let's get this done." Ice flooded my veins. They thought the house was empty. They moved like they belonged there, talking quietly, relaxed. One of them laughed about how people still didn't lock their doors. Drawers opened. Cabinets slid. Glass clinked softly. They talked about traffic, about someone named Cole. Normal conversation, like this wasn't my house they were tearing through. Footsteps entered the living room. Closer. Something brushed the coffee table. I squeezed my eyes shut. A shadow fell over me. A head appeared over the couch cushion, searching between the seats. He didn't see me. I don't know how. Darkness. Angle. Pure luck. After a moment that felt endless, he moved on. Minutes later, the door opened again. Cold air rushed in, then it shut. Silence. I stayed hidden, shaking, long after they were gone. When I finally checked my phone, it was 3:41 a.m. The house was wrecked. Drawers pulled out. Electronics gone. No broken locks. No forced entry. They just walked in. The police came. Statements were taken. An officer told me I was lucky. Too lucky. The next day, a neighbor mentioned seeing two men watching my house earlier that week. Waiting. Learning my routine. The doorbell hadn't been random. I didn't sleep there for weeks. I changed everything. Locks, cameras, lights, alarms. Because the worst part wasn't that my house was robbed. It was knowing I was home the entire time. Listening. Breathing. Hidden by nothing but luck. And luck doesn't last forever. I didn't hesitate when I took the job. Looking back, that should have been the first red flag. At the time, I was desperate. Rent was looming. My old job had slashed my hours, and I needed something stable, fast. Nothing glamorous, just enough to survive. The shop sat in a half-forgotten strip mall off Route 17, about 20 minutes outside a town most people only drove past. Blink, and you'd miss it. The mall itself felt abandoned by time, surrounded by open land, pine scrub, and long stretches where your phone lost signal for no reason. There was a nail salon that closed before dark, a dollar store that somehow never did, a vape shop run by a guy who never smiled, and a laundromat that always smelled damp. My store sat right in the middle. Most days were painfully quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you talk to yourself just to prove you still exist. Locals came in regularly. Same faces, same trucks, same recycled conversations. Outsiders stood out immediately. Wrong plates, wrong clothes, wrong way of looking around. That's why Rye stood out. Everyone knew him. No one knew anything about him. Rye had been around longer than anyone could remember. Rumors floated. Construction work, family nearby, a life that fell apart. But no one ever confirmed anything. What was obvious was that he was homeless. When I first started, he still looked human. Rough, unwashed, sure, but coherent. He nodded, said hello, asked politely for spare change. Over time, he unraveled. Layers appeared. Hoodie over flannel over jacket, even in summer heat. His pants sagged lower each month, shoes splitting open, beard turning into something tangled and wild. His eyes were the worst, bloodshot and glassy, unless they suddenly weren't. Sometimes he stared at nothing. Other times, he stared straight through you. He vanished often, days, weeks. Then one morning, he'd be back, sitting on the curb like he'd never left. I felt sorry for him. I brought him coffee sometimes, food if I had it. He'd take it with shaking hands and mumble something that might have been thanks. Unspoken agreement, we watched out for him. Not officially, just humanly. I worked mostly closing shifts. After dark, the strip mall changed. Lights flickered. Wind dragged trash across cracked asphalt. Sounds echoed too far. When the other shop shut down, the place felt hollow. Rye usually stayed near the curb. He never bothered me, until I realized he was watching. At first, it was just a feeling. That pressure between your shoulders. One night, as I pulled the gate down, I glanced over and caught him staring directly at me. Focused, intent. I told myself I was imagining it. Still, I walked to my car with my keys clenched between my fingers. Months later, I took a day off and drove into the city, 80 miles away. Different world. Noise, crowds, life. I stood in line at a food truck, half zoned out, when that same feeling hit me. I looked up. The man behind me looked exactly like Rye. Same face, same bone structure, same eyes. But everything else was wrong. Clean, immaculate, trimmed hair, shaped beard, fitted jacket, expensive shoes, Apple Watch, new iPhone, leather bag at his side. For a second, I thought I was hallucinating. Then he smiled. Missing tooth. Same one. My heart stumbled. The line moved. He moved closer. Too close. I shifted. He adjusted. Then he leaned in. "I know where you work," he said calmly. I swallowed. "You've got the wrong person." He smiled wider. "Miller's Crossing, Route 17. Cold crawled up my spine. Before I could speak, he leaned closer, mint on his breath, clean, sharp. "I know when you're alone." I stepped back hard, forcing a laugh. "You need to back up." The food was called. He took it, glanced back once, same eyes, same smile, then vanished into the crowd. Back at work, Rye was gone. Days passed, then weeks. That wasn't normal. On the 5th day, he reappeared. Same curb, same filth. I stepped outside, heart pounding. "You been in the city lately?" I asked. His expression snapped. Fear, rage, something worse. He leaned in, breath foul. "If you tell anyone," he slurred, "I'll kill you." I called the police by the time they came. He was gone. After that, the fear settled deep, quiet, heavy. I stopped sleeping. Every sound felt deliberate. Days passed, weeks. Then one night, while closing, I heard footsteps. He stood at the edge of the lot, clean, smiling. "Gavin," he said, "long night?" I told him to leave. He laughed softly. "That thing you call Rye," he said, stepping closer. "He's just what people need him to be." Later that night, there was a knock at my apartment. 3 soft taps. My phone buzzed. "You're home." I was right. I ran barefoot out the back door. They never found him. I quit. I moved. I don't live alone anymore. But sometimes late at night, I still smell mint. And I wonder how many people waved at Rye while Gavin watched.